Over 40 million people in the US alone suffer from mental health disorders every year, yet very few people invest the time into learning about them until it's too late. In addition, there are many misconceptions that are perpetuated through things like movies and the media. So today I want to clear up four of the most common misconceptions. One being that they're a personal weakness. Well, they're not. They're also not rare, and the majority of people who are diagnosed are not violent or unpredictable. And lastly, those who suffer from them cannot just snap out of it. On today's episode, we're digging deep into these falsehoods to get clarity on the facts. This way you can help set the record straight and maybe even help your loved ones or yourself combat the challenges of mental health disorder. To learn more, join us every week on the Life Design Podcast for our Mental Health Mondays series. If you haven't already done so, please subscribe now so you can join us on every episode. We truly appreciate it. And be sure to engage in the comments section of your favorite platform for your chance to be invited as a guest on one of our episodes. Welcome back to the Life Design Podcast, where we look at everything from a mindset perspective. Today, we're going to level up your mindset on how you view mental health and mental health disorders and the people who struggle with it. Discussing mental health illness treatments publicly, it's vital for raising awareness and for dispelling misconceptions about mental health and about how we care for it. So let's dive in. So the first misconception that we want to discuss is the belief that mental health problems are a sign of weakness, of a personal weakness. And the reality is that mental health issues are not a reflection of a person's character or their strength at all. Matter of fact, the professionals in the industry, they emphasize that mental illness, it's often results from neurobiological and physiological changes, not just the psychological issues itself. And let me give you an example. Neuroimaging studies, they've actually shown changes in the brain activity in people with depression and anxiety. And this indicates that these conditions, they actually have a biological basis. And another expert insight on this actually comes from the American Psychological Association, or it's called the APA. And they note that a significant portion of mental health issues have a genetic component to them. For instance, the risk of developing certain mental health conditions, such as bipolar disorder, it's actually higher if a family member also has the condition. Okay, and this underscores that potential genetic link, or that genetic link that is believed to be a part of it. And most psychologists agree that just like physical illnesses, okay, mental illnesses can affect anyone, regardless of their personality or their resilience or their personal strength, be it physical or mental or even emotional. And this is because mental health disorders, they often result from a complex interplay, so to speak, of genetics, of biology, of brain chemistry. They include, environment or psychological factors and traumatic like traumatic life experiences, even chronic physical illness, chronic physical health conditions play a dominant part, or a intense part in mental health illnesses at times. So by emphasizing this, we can help people understand that mental illness is a health issue, not some sort of personal failing. Okay, and studies, they show that most people with mental health disorders, they actually continue to function effectively in their daily lives. The majority of them do. Okay, misconception number two. This one is a belief that mental health disorders are rare, and the reality is mental health disorders are quite common. They're very common, actually. Matter of fact, the National Alliance on Mental Illness, they report that in the United States alone, nearly 1 in 5 adults experience a mental illness of some sort each year. 1 in 5, that's 20% of adults. Okay. In addition, according to the World Health Organization, okay, an estimated 1 in 4 people globally will be affected by either a mental or a neurological disorder at some point in their life. 1 in 4 globally will suffer it at some point in their life. Okay. They also share that depression, okay, I'm going to tell you guys, this one blew me away. Depression is a leading cause of disability on a global scale. I was not expecting to come across that in my research. Okay, these statistics actually show us that mental health concerns, they're a normal part of the human experience. Okay, and further supporting that is the fact that a big portion, if not the majority, of mental health professionals point out that um, these disorders, they're among the most common health conditions worldwide. So when people are just simply looking at health issues or health conditions across the world or throughout the world, mental health disorders are among the most common. Okay. Blows the, they're rare out of the water. It's also important to note that mental health issues, they encompass a wide range of disorders. Okay. They include, common conditions like anxiety or mood disorders, depression, things like that, but as well as less common ones like schizophrenia. Okay. I know we hear that word. We've talked about it before on one of the podcasts with our co-host Maxine Marks, who, as you can tell, was not available this week. She's actually got to be off for a couple of weeks for some personal concerns. So, um, but we also want to note that there are lesser known conditions that contribute significantly to the overall prevalence of mental health issues. Okay, when we start looking at stats, right? And there are varied forms of these disorders, or varied forms that they can take, we'll put it that way, meaning each mental health issue doesn't necessarily look the same in every person. Okay, they can express themselves differently in different people. And here was another stat that really kind of shocked me. It really put numbers, you know, cut in stone here. And that was also from the World Health Organization, is that they estimate over 264 million people, now this is worldwide, suffer from depression alone. Okay, 264 million, just depression. Okay, and this statistic, along with other data, right, on conditions like anxiety. Okay, anxiety, almost 300 million people suffer globally, and quite frankly, if I recall correctly, I think these numbers were pre C19, so I can't imagine what they would be, this month if they really did a deep study. But this demonstrates the prevalence of mental health issues. Okay, so if you think about it statistically, and this is why I wanted to talk about it, and why I want to continually talk about it every Monday, and that is, if you think about this at a statistical level, every person alive will know people throughout their lifetime who are dealing with mental health challenges. For that reason, the more that you learn about them in advance, the better chance you'll have to recognize the signs and to help those people who need it, be it friends, family, some type of loved ones, or ourselves. So, misconception number 3 is that people with mental illnesses are violent or unpredictable, or maybe violent and unpredictable, right? Though mental health illness does encompass a wide range of conditions, most of those conditions, they don't lead to violent behavior. Okay, the reality, this was another one that surprised me. The reality is the vast majority of people with mental health issues, they're not violent. In fact, they are more likely to be victims of violence than they are of being the perpetrator themselves. The fact is, the media is the primary origin of this negative and inaccurate stereotype of people with mental health disorders, promoting that they're violent, that they're unpredictable, and it's just not true. The representations that are shown in movies, they've shaped and distorted the public perceptions. Okay, unfortunately, these misconceptions, they often lead to social isolation and to stigmas, and those things hinder people from seeking the help they need. So it's important that we differentiate between these sensationalized portrayals, that we see in the media and specifically in movies. We need to differentiate from that from the reality, which is that people with mental health issues, more often than not, a vast majority, they lead normal, productive lives. And by knowing this truth, it helps to dispel the myths and these misunderstandings. And it's crucial to reduce fears and stigmas that people have about it. In my research, I found that there's been a number of very interesting findings, actually, that studies have shown. Okay, like the fact that mental illness contributes to a very small fraction of overall violence. And it really boils down to factors like substance abuse, okay, that significantly increase that risk. So again, most people with um, mental health disorders, we'll call it MHD, right? MHDs. Um, the majority of them, they don't have, they're not involved in substance abuse. Okay, a lot of them are. Sometimes it's the substance abuse that creates or ignites mental health disorders. But people that have mental health disorders and aren't engaging in things like substance abuse, they have a much lower risk. Matter of fact, there was a study that was published in the American Journal of Public Health. Okay, it found that people with serious mental health issues, not mild ones, but with serious mental health issues, are over 10 times more likely to be victims of violent crime than the general population. I mean, think about that. People with serious mental health issues are 10 times more likely to be victims than the general population, right? If we say 1 out of 4 people experience mental health, and maybe it's, 1 out of, I don't know, 10 um, that has serious mental health illnesses, they're 10 times more likely than the rest of us. A second study I came across was published in the Journal of American Academy of Psychiatry and Law. Sorry, that one's, and the law or something like that. That long name there, but they found that less than 5% of violent acts are committed by individuals with diagnosed mental illnesses. Okay, less than 5%. Now, think about this. If potentially 20 to 25% of people are diagnosed with mental illness of some sort, yet only 5% of crime, of violent acts, let me put it that way, not just crime, but violent acts, are committed by those people. That's a pretty substantial number to pay attention to, because that means the general public's committing more of the violent acts. And it's repeatedly been found, again, that it's the factors such as substance abuse. A couple of other things were, a past history of violence. So maybe they were violent prior to being diagnosed. Okay. Socioeconomic factors are a huge predicator to or offer prediction of violent behavior and rather than just mental disorders on its own. And then misconception number 4 is that people with mental health illnesses or issues that they can just snap out of it. Personally, I used to lean that direction many years ago, thinking, they should just be able to fix themselves. Till I realized, heck, I struggle fixing myself on a lot of things. It's just part of human nature. So the reality is that mental illnesses, they though they range, from very mild to quite severe. Matter of fact, they can even be chronic conditions. Okay, that conditions that require treatment and management for months or years, or for some people, even their lifetime. Okay, it's just like any other chronic health condition. It's not something that someone can simply snap out of. It doesn't work like that. Okay, that said, there are treatments that can help people with these mental illnesses. It can help them manage those symptoms, okay, and actually live normal, fulfilling lives. So let's take a look for a few minutes at some of the more common treatments that are used today. Mental illness treatments encompass a broad range of approaches, and they're aimed at addressing the symptoms and the underlying causes of those mental health conditions. Okay, these treatments can be broadly categorized into 4 main groups. Okay, you have psychotherapy, medications, what's called brain stimulation. Sounds a little scary, but we'll get into it. We'll explain it. And then, of course, self care and lifestyle changes. Okay, we've talked about that. I've talked about that a number of times in videos and podcasts. So, psychotherapy, which is also known as talk therapy, this is a very common one. It consists of a number of models or types, and it's what we call a collaborative process between the therapist and the individual. And it's meant to address their mental health concerns, right? It's effective for a wide range of conditions, including depression, anxiety disorders, bipolar, PTSD, and personality disorders. Be a good way to put it. It involves basically exploring their thoughts, their feelings, and their behaviors in an effort to gain a better understanding of the individual's experience, as well as helping them actually develop coping mechanisms for managing those symptoms. There's a few common forms of psychotherapy as well. So we'll look at a couple of those. First one, probably the most common, it's called cognitive behavioral therapy, or in the industry they call it CBT. This form of therapy focuses on identifying and modifying negative thought patterns, okay, behaviors that contribute to different types of emotional distress. Okay, another form is called interpersonal therapy. And this focuses actually on improving the interpersonal relationships and communication skills in an effort to enhance the patients, the person that's suffering, to enhance their emotional well being. And the last one that we'll discuss is actually called dialectical behavior therapy, or DBT. Okay, and this form actually teaches skills for managing intense emotions to help them learn to tolerate distress, right? Building up their resistance, so to speak, to it, and to actually improve their self-regulation. Okay, to be able to regulate their emotions at a much higher level. The second one we talked about, or that I mentioned, was medication. And of course, there's psychiatric medications that are used to regulate brain chemistry and to actually help alleviate some of the symptoms of whatever mental illness they're dealing with. Okay, they can be prescribed alone, but also in conjunction with psychotherapy. And the common types of these medications, there's a few of them. Of course, there's antidepressants. We understand that those help with depression and anxiety disorders. And it does this. It actually increases what's called the serotonin and the norepinephrine, or sometimes people call it noradrenaline. Um, and these are neurotransmitters that actually help regulate mood. And that's just a real simple way to put it. Okay. Most of you know I am not the consummate pro. That is not my field, but I did a lot of research on it to be able to share this with you. So, but again, antidepressants help to regulate our moods. Let's keep it simple. Okay. Another one are the antipsychotics. Antipsychotics. Those, of course, are used to treat, psychotic disorders such as schizophrenia, such. Okay. And they do this by actually reducing dopamine activity in the brain. Okay. That's, again, I'm trying to keep it simple here. So, um, mood stabilizers are another one. Of course, you know, pretty clear. Those help to regulate mood disorders. Um, help keep them from fluctuating so much in things like bipolar disorder. One thing I will say, though, is that it's widely believed that medications, that they often or typically work best in combination with psychotherapy. Again, they can be prescribed on their own or in combination, but it's typically believed that they work best in combination. The third type of treatment that I wanted to mention real quick was brain stimulation therapies. And again, I know that sounds a little creepy because, we see the old movies of people getting lobotomies and crazy stuff like that. But these BSTs, they actually involve using electrical or like a magnetic fields to stimulate specific areas of the brain. Okay. And this actually helps improve symptoms of different types of mental illness. And these are typically used, this type of therapy or this type of treatment, um, are typically used when other treatments haven't been quite as effective. The last one that I wanted to mention was the self-care and lifestyle changes. Now, this is one that I talk about a lot. Many of you know this because I actually do coaching in the life transition area. Is probably the most consistent area of coaching that I do. People who are up against a wall, they either have to or they want to make some sort of changes in their life, or they want to do some additional self-care. And that is my area of expertise, so to speak, where I've helped people for over 30 years. So, but the fact is, lifestyle changes can play a significant role in managing mental illness and improving just the overall well-being of anyone, quite frankly. But um, there's different types, again, different methods of doing this, and they include things like maintaining regular sleep schedules. We all know this. Adequate sleep is crucial for helping us regulate both our emotions as well as our cognitive functions. Engaging in regular physical activity is another one. Exercise, right? We'll call it exercise. It doesn't have to be. It could be physical work. It could be a lot of different things, but exercise itself has been shown to reduce symptoms of depression, of anxiety, of all kinds of different things. We all know this. So many health benefits. Another one, and I just did a podcast on meditation, right? But it's practicing relaxation techniques. So whether it's meditation, whether it's deep breathing, which is something I'm going to do an episode on soon because I've been practicing breath work for many years. But yoga can help. And these things help. They help you manage stress. They help promote emotional well-being and just a ton of other health benefits. Of course, this has to be thrown in a healthy diet. The more nutritiously we eat, the better off we are, right? It helps our brain health. It helps our overall physical well-being, and on and on and on. It helps with weight. There's just an untold number of benefits for eating healthier. These lifestyle changes, okay, they provide a platform for just overall health, overall benefits. They're particularly helpful for conditions like addictions, of course, eating disorders, okay, mood disorders, okay. These types of approaches, they can actually help manage the symptoms of mental health conditions, okay, and they're often used in conjunction with other types of treatments. Matter of fact, in my experience, um, I think they're used almost always with other types of treatments. I personally have never met anyone, therapist or client, that where lifestyle changes were not part of their therapy, encouraging them to make some lifestyle changes. Now, I did want to share this, and this I really want to talk about on another episode as its own episode, and that's what are known as inpatient or residential treatments. Okay. And these are additional treatments that are used when needed, which Maxine Marks, our co host, is an absolute expert on. Okay. And she runs a facility like that. So we're definitely going to dig into deep into this one. But these types of things, again, they're necessary for individuals who actually might, be a danger to themselves or to others. Okay. Or people who need intensive and structured type of treatments, highly structured, let me put it that way. Okay. And they include things like 24-hour care. Okay. A very structured environment, and various types of therapies that they experience all at the same time. Okay. And of course, medical monitoring, right? When you're living in an in-home, residential type treatment, you have all of this available to you. Okay. Clearly, there are many, many options for treating mental health disorders. Okay. And what I truly hope has become clear in today's episode is that most of us, we will intimately experience some form of mental health disorder or illness within our lifetimes, either personally ourselves or in potentially helping care for a loved one, a friend, a family member, something to that effect. Okay, someone else that is struggling with some illness or some disorder. Virtually every single human. So the more we learn about it in advance, the better chance we or our loved ones have at living a normal and productive life. So join me in the conversation. Any question, any comment, any experience that you've had, share in the comments. Reach out to us. If you're on some of the podcasts, like Spotify, we have questionnaires involved. If it's on YouTube, you can go straight to the comments. Okay. Share with us, engage with us. I do thank you for joining me on today's episode. Please support our efforts. Join with us in supporting our efforts to bring value to you, to other listeners. Okay. You can do that by sharing, by liking, by following or subscribing to our podcast. It depends upon the platform you listen on. If you'd like to be a guest, I say this on every episode. If you'd like to be a guest on the podcast or to discuss, some of your own experiences, please reach out to us. Reach out through our podcast again, through the comments, through any social media. You can go, at My Life Design. Again, design spelt with a Z on purpose, just to be different. So let's chat. Reach out. Let's chat. I look forward to speaking with you. I look forward to meeting some of you. And until then, as always, live awesome and enjoy your journey.